Welcome to the listening window, where you can practice your English through engaging, real-life stories. In today's story, we're diving into the experience of meeting someone for the first time in person after months of getting to know them online. It's about stepping out of your comfort zone and learning how to connect with someone face to face. And remember, you can access the full script, vocabulary list, quiz, answer key, and a bonus writing prompt by clicking the link in the description below. It was my first time meeting someone I had only talked to online for months. The thought of it had me feeling a mix of excitement and nerves all at once. It was strange how I could feel so connected to someone I hadn't even met face to face yet, but there was something about their messages that made me feel understood, like we were in the same world, even though we were miles apart. His name was Daniel, and we had met through a mutual friends group chat a few months ago. At first, it was just casual exchanges, comments on a post here and there, then the occasional message about the things we had in common. Books, music, our favorite coffee spots, and even the kind of movies we liked. But somehow, our conversations grew deeper, more personal. It felt like we understood each other in a way that not many people did. The idea of meeting him in person had come up a few times, but it wasn't until one day when I found myself reading one of his messages late at night, feeling something stir inside me, that I knew I wanted it to happen. He asked if I wanted to meet up, and I didn't even think twice before saying yes. The plan was simple. We'd meet at a local cafe, a place we both liked, and just see how it went. No pressure, no expectations, just a chance to see if the connection we had online could translate into real life. But as the day approached, the nerves began to settle in. I hadn't even thought about what I'd wear until the morning of. I stood in front of my closet, trying to decide between the comfy sweater I always felt good in or something a little more put together, like a cute blouse and jeans. I opted for the latter, thinking it would strike the right balance between casual and thoughtful. I didn't want to look like I hadn't made an effort, but I also didn't want to seem like I was trying too hard. The cafe we chose was quiet, with cozy seating and a great selection of pastries, exactly the kind of place that invited good conversation. I had arrived a bit earlier than planned, wanting to give myself time to settle in before he arrived. I ordered a cappuccino and found a seat near the window where the light streamed in softly, giving the space a warm, inviting glow. I checked my phone nervously, scrolling through messages and making sure everything was set. There was no turning back now. My heart was beating a little faster than usual, and I was doing my best to calm myself down. What if we didn't have anything to talk about in person? What if it was awkward? But then I remembered all the times we had stayed up late chatting, how easy it had been to share thoughts, to laugh at silly things, to talk about our dreams and fears. I had to remind myself that this was just the next step in a journey that felt like it had been building up for so long. And then, just as I was about to take another sip of my coffee, I saw him. Daniel. He looked just like his pictures, but there was something about seeing him in real life that made him feel more real, more tangible. He had a nervous smile on his face, and for a moment, neither of us said anything. He walked over to the table, and we both stood up awkwardly, as if we were figuring out how to greet each other for the first time, even though we already felt so familiar with each other through our online conversations. "Hey, it's so good to finally meet you," he said, and there was an undeniable warmth in his voice. His eyes were kind, and there was something calming about the way he spoke. We sat down, and the first few minutes were filled with the usual small talk, the weather, the cafe, how our day had been. But soon, the conversation began to flow more naturally, like we were falling into a rhythm we had already established through our chats. We talked about everything, from our favorite childhood memories to the places we wanted to travel, and even the kind of books we were currently reading. But as the afternoon wore on, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of familiarity mixed with surprise. Daniel was more charming in person than I had expected. He had a way of making me feel completely at ease, even when the conversation would dip into slightly awkward silences. The more we talked, the more I realized that the connection we had online had only been a glimpse of what was possible in real life. But then, as the conversation shifted towards something a little more personal, something unexpected happened. Daniel mentioned something offhandedly about a relationship he had recently gotten out of. He didn't seem upset or bothered by it, but I could tell it was still on his mind. It made me pause for a moment. I hadn't expected that. We had never really talked about relationships before, not in such a direct way. So, I guess it's still a bit fresh, huh? I asked, trying to keep my tone light. I didn't want to pry too much, but I was genuinely curious. He nodded, looking down at his coffee for a second before meeting my eyes again. "Yeah, it's been a while, but I don't know. I think I'm still processing some of it. I think that's why I'm here, honestly," he said. I didn't want to let past stuff hold me back from meeting someone who might actually be different, you know? I felt a mix of emotions in that moment, sympathy for him, but also a little vulnerability creeping in. It made me realize that meeting someone in person was never going to be perfect. There would be things we didn't know about each other yet, things that would surprise us. But there was also a sense of relief. It felt like we were being honest with each other, like we were taking a step toward truly understanding who we were beyond just the online messages and profiles. And that made everything feel a bit more real. We spent the next few hours chatting and laughing, the earlier awkwardness fading away. By the time the cafe was starting to close, I realized that I had enjoyed the time we spent together far more than I had expected. There were still some unanswered questions, some things that were left unsaid, but I felt like we were both open to exploring this connection, whatever it might turn into. We said goodbye with a promise to talk again soon, and as I walked out of the cafe, I couldn't help but smile. There was something magical about meeting someone you've only known online. Something thrilling about seeing if the connection you shared through messages could actually translate into something real. And even though I didn't know what the future held for us, I felt a little more hopeful than I had when I first walked into that cafe. Thank you for listening to this story on the listening window. You can download the complete script, vocabulary list, quiz with answers, and a bonus speaking prompt using the link in the description below. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments, what would you have done differently when Daniel mentioned his past relationship? We'd love to read your version.